with the youngest, most daring, intrepid, gutsy, fearless host on the planet. Get ready for Jake's Takes. Here's Jake.
Welcome back! I am Jake, and this is Jake's Takes, where I get your favorite athletes and stars to open up and speak what's really on their minds. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, because you won't believe the guests I have lined up. Today's guest was born in Edmonton, Alberta. He played his junior hockey with the Markham Waxers of the OJHL and the Toronto Marlboros of the OHL. After playing junior for 3 years, his dream came true when he was drafted into the NHL by the Washington Capitals. He went on to play 10 years of professional hockey on 6 NHL teams: the Washington Capitals, Hartford Whalers, New Jersey Devils, Ottawa Senators, LA Kings, and the Anaheim Ducks. Our guest has had some amazing moments in the NHL. He scored his first goal against Ed Belfour in Chicago Stadium. He reached the Stanley Cup Finals with the LA Kings with Wayne Gretzky. And his number one highlight was when in his very first NHL game, Coach Brian Murray asked him to cover the great Mario Lemieux. Today he travels the country to help change lives as he inspires both the young and old. He volunteers countless hours with many charities and organizations. He's the NHL Hockey Ambassador of the King Heights Academy and coaches and mentors many hockey teams. Hope you're ready, as I'm honored to welcome to Jake's Takes, Jim Thomson! What's up, Jim? Thanks so much for joining me. How you doing?
I'm doing wonderful, Jake. I'm excited to be here with you, and I really admire what you're doing. A young guy like yourself, doing your due diligence on players like me of the past, asking great questions. I think it's fantastic. So I'm really excited to be here today.
Thanks. Great to meet you, Jim. And how are you and the family doing?
We're doing good. It's been, as you know, it's been a trying time over COVID. I'm very excited to see the vaccines going out and the numbers coming down. And I believe we're coming to the end of this unique time in our life. So I'm looking forward to the later parts of summer where we can start living again. But my family is good for overall. How is your family?
My family's doing great, thank God. But
Okay,
how are you enjoying the NHL playoffs? Because I'm enjoying it a lot.
I love them. My team lost out. I'm an Edmonton Oilers fan, as you stated earlier. I'm from Edmonton, so I love Connor McDavid and the way he plays. But I'm really enjoying watching Montreal quietly disturb a whole bunch of people in the hockey world, upset a lot of people in the hockey world. And, just the hockey right now is fantastic. I'm looking forward to the 2 games tonight. And I watch every night. I love it.
So we have some great topics to discuss. So let's get at it. You ready, Jim?
I'm ready.
I want to start with your first NHL game. I can imagine the nerves, the excitement leading up to that day, and puck drop. And finally, it's your moment. The coach pulls you over and says, "Jim, I want you to cover Mario Lemieux." What the heck was going through your mind when you heard those words? I mean, like Mario Lemieux.
So how it worked, Jake, was this. I was playing in Binghamton, their farm team, and we played Hershey Bears, Philadelphia's farm team, over the weekend. So unbeknownst to me, they had me cover a 50-goal scorer down there. His name was Ross Fitzpatrick. So I covered him for 2 games. He ended up getting a couple assists on the power play, but he never scored. I did a really good job. And on Sunday, we were leaving the Hershey Center, and all the Washington brass was there. And David Poyle, the general manager, who's now in Nashville, called me over, and they said, "Great weekend. You did a really good job. We're calling you up to play against Pittsburgh tomorrow, Monday night." Well, that was my time, because I've been in the minors for 2 years. You get drafted, Jake, but until you actually put on an NHL jersey for a real game, you haven't realized your dream. So this was it. This was the moment where I was like, very excited quietly. So I drove to Washington with our goalie coach, got up in the morning, went to the pregame skate, and Brian Murray called me over on the ice. He said, "How you feeling?" I said, "I'm feeling good." He said, "Okay, good." He goes, "Are you nervous?" I said, "No, I'm feeling pretty good." So after practice, Jake, we went in and they called me into the coaches' room. So all the brass was there, David Poyle, all the coaches, and they said, "We're going to have you cover Mario Lemieux tonight." So when you asked me this question, Jake, my very first NHL game, at that time, Mario was the best player in the world. Now I was nervous. Now I'm going, wow, what an assignment, what an opportunity. But it was a surreal day in my life, night in my life, and I'll never forget it. It's like a dream. I'll say this to you. It's like a dream. Did it really happen? And it did happen. And I actually took the box score out of the game. We ended up losing. Sadly, we lost the game 5-4 late. But Mario didn't get a point. I held him pointless.
Oh, and that probably felt so good.
Yeah, but we would have been 10 times better if we would have won. But I did my job. So, yes, thanks for asking that question. It means a lot to me.
You also had the huge privilege of playing alongside Wayne Gretzky on the way to the Stanley Cup Finals. So you got to see the great one up close. Tell me what he was like as a leader. What was he like in the locker room, behind the scenes, and on the ice?
Yeah, so I tell everybody this, Jake. Wayne Gretzky was a better human being and father than he was a hockey player. And what made him special, when you ask what was he like in the dressing room, you have your top tier players, your superstars, and then you got your bottom tier players like me. He would make guys like me feel as important as the Yeri Currys, the Paul Coffeys on our hockey team, okay? The Luc Robitailles. So what Wayne was so... Call it... What's that?
How?
By including us. By he wouldn't walk in the room and go sit beside Yeri Curry. He'd walk in the room and say, "Hey, Jimmy, how you doing?" Sit down beside me, ask me how my dinner was. How are things going? Going out for dinner, he'd invite guys like me. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, he wasn't a captain that leaned towards the great players on our team. He leaned towards more of the bottom to bring us up, to make us feel as important as the other players. And that's a special, special leadership quality.
Wow, Jim, that's some great insight. By the way, you also played against Mario Lemieux, like we mentioned. Tell me what made Lemieux and Gretzky similar, and what's different about them.
They're in hockey, Jake, it's like this. I was a player that had to think one play ahead. So, for instance, if I was in my own zone, I was a right winger, and I know I was going to get the puck, I had to already look to see what I was going to do with that puck. What made those guys special is they were 2 and 3 plays ahead. So where my capacity was 1 play ahead, they're thinking 2 plays ahead of me and most guys on the ice. And that's what made them superstars. They were so far ahead mentally and skill-wise from most of the guys on the ice is why they broke records. It's why Gretzky had 92 goals in a year, 215 points. It's amazing when you look at how many points and goals he scored. That's what made them special.
Wow. A few months ago, I had a tough guy, Brad May, on my show, and I asked him a difficult question. I'm going to ask you the same question, okay, Jim?
Yep.
You played a tough style of hockey. You were no stranger to fighting. But sports isn't just a game. Sports teaches you valuable lessons for life. Is it fair to say that one of the lessons you're teaching is to solve problems by fighting? How do you explain to me and all other kids the role of fighting in hockey?
Well, I'm going to take you back to 2011. I came out publicly and said fighting needs to be taken out of hockey because it's killing the enforcer. And if you go onto YouTube and Google Jim Thomson and Don Cherry, you'll see that Mr. Cherry came after me and called me some names, and he didn't like what I said. I want fighting out of hockey. There's no room for fighting. I had 124 pro fights, and that was my time. That was back in the day. Today, when you see the beauty in hockey, you see the goal scoring, the skating, the speed. There's no need for fighting. So to watch young guys go out there and bleed on the ice or get knocked out and have concussions and seriously get hurt, okay, I don't want to see it anymore. I want hockey to be safer. I don't want bare knuckles on a young guy like yours' head, right? Because you think of the power of these men punching each other in the head, it can really hurt somebody. So when you ask me about fighting, I'm not a fan of it. If you're a fan of fighting, watch UFC. Hockey is a beautiful game, and we need fighting out of it.
Talking about fighting, who's the toughest guy you actually had to fight?
It was a big 6'5" left-hander. His name was Dave Brown. So he played for Philadelphia and Edmonton. And he was a scary, scary fighter because if he hit you, he could really hurt you. So when people ask me, I would have to say Dave Brown.
I'm okay, Jim. I hope you're excited because right now on Jake's Takes, it's time for some rapid fire. I'll ask you a bunch of short questions and you answer them as quick as you can. Deal?
Deal.
Who was your hockey idol?
Bobby Clark.
Best uniform in the NHL?
Washington Capitals.
How much did the Kings pay Carey Fraser to miss the high stick on Dougie Gilmour in Game 6 overtime?
0. He admits his fault.
What is the thing you're most afraid of?
That's a great question. Failing.
What's your hometown famous for?
5 Stanley Cups, I think 8 Grey Cups, Wayne Gretzky, City of Champions.
Most annoying player you played against?
Rob Ray.
Best coach in the NHL today?
Great question. I'm going to go with John Cooper.
Pool or hot tub?
Pool.
Hardest road arena to play in the NHL?
Back in my day was the Chicago Stadium.
Hardest slap shot when you were in the NHL?
Al McGuinness.
That was a stellar performance, Jim Thomson. Just a stunning display of poise, confidence, and knowledge. Feel good about that performance, Jim?
I do. I'm very pleased. I should be one of the 3 stars, I would hope.
You're number 3. You're number 3.
Okay.
So I have just a few more questions to ask you, Jim, and hoping that's okay.
You betcha.
Excellent. Turning our attention to the NHL playoffs, there's been some great battles. The Bruins-Islander series is just amazing. Everyone's finishing their checks and you gotta earn every inch of ice. But I gotta ask you about the hit of Mark Scheifele on Jake Evans. First, let me be very clear. We never like to see anyone get hurt, and we wish Jake a speedy recovery. But take me through that play and what you saw, Jim. Was that hit deserving of suspension?
Yeah, so what I do, Jake, is I always put myself in the player's shoes. So I'm Mark Scheifele. I'm skating up the ice as I did many times in my career. I'm losing. We're frustrated. He just put the puck into the empty net. The type of player I was, I probably would have hit him too. So I understand what Mark Scheifele's frustration was. The fact that he had him lined up, the fact that he didn't jump off his skate, he hit him clean, he hit him hard. But guess what? In today's rules and game, the fact that he did hit his head, it warranted a suspension, and I thought 4 games was fair.
Which team left in the playoffs do you think is most likely to win the cup? I mean, like Colorado looks phenomenal. Remember,
No.
Kadri's not even in the lineup. But then again,
Tampa Bay, Jake. Tampa Bay, they're the champs. They're the best team. They got the best goalie outside of Price. They got the number 1 defense, and they got the deepest forward group. The Tampa Bay Lightning will repeat as Stanley Cup champions.
I'm not going to lie, I would want that to happen. I love Stamkos, so I wouldn't be so mad. I was actually pretty mad last year when they won the cup while he was injured.
Yeah,
But
great goal he scored, though.
Yeah, it made me feel better that he went out to hold the cup. That made me feel better.
Yeah.
Last question, Jim. So for over 20 years, you've been running an NHL prospect camp and mentoring program. You've trained hundreds of players over the years. Can you tell me a little bit about your program? What makes it so unique and so successful?
Well, the hockey is the hockey. Okay, we teach hockey. We teach off-ice training, like many other people do. Where I like to think that Jim Thomson's prospect camps are different is the mentoring and life skills that we teach off the ice about how to be a good young man or a good young lady, how to do everything right, how to stay out of trouble, just living the right way, a respectful lifestyle, Jake. I say this, if you got respect, you got a lot of things. And that's where I'm most proud of is changing I call it planting seeds in young people to let them see how to live a better life. And that's where I feel my program is very strong and just helping people on and off the ice in a well-rounded world.
Thanks, Jim, for joining me today on Jake's Takes. I learned a lot from you and loved the chance to talk hockey with you. Am I the youngest host you've ever joined?
You're the youngest, the most enthusiastic, and I admire you. And I want you to send me this when it's done because I want to send it to my children and say, listen to Jake. I just think what you're doing is great. And keep it up.
Okay, perfect.
Your future is bright. Your future is bright, Jake.
Thank you. Wishing you continuous success and hope I can meet you in person one day.
You will.
Hey guys, you won't believe the guest I have next week. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out.